I'm Weird Heather and welcome to my garden. So today I came outside to talk to you about how to grow tomatoes in containers, or at least how I do it. And imagine my surprise when I come outside and I see this. Are you kidding me? When did it actually decide to snow overnight? Seriously? So I'm still going to make that video. It's just going to look a little strange in all the snow. So first of all, I'm going to show you the very beginning of the process, choosing which seeds I want to plant and getting them sown, because I've not done that yet. Really should have done that yet, but I haven't. So let's pop inside and do that now. Right, so we're here to finally plant my tomatoes. I know it's late, but I mean they can't be outside yet anyway, because we've still got a load of like very close to freezing temperatures outside overnight, so hopefully they're not going to be too, so hopefully it's not going to matter too much that I've been a little late in starting these this year. So in addition to the Brad's Atomic Gate that I've overwintered from last year, I've got these that I will be planting for you in a moment. Now these are seeds that I saved myself from a tomato from the farm shop. No idea what it was called, the variety. All I know is it was a medium sized tomato. It was a beautiful dark olive colour when ripe. It was in a pack of tomatoes which said they were heritage varieties, so it could be a heritage variety. The only thing I had as a clue to its identity was a sticker on it, which I assume is perhaps the grower, which said Kumato, Kumato. So I'm going to try and grow some of those. I've also got some of these from Premier Seeds. They do a lot of really inexpensive and good quality seeds. I got these from Amazon, highly recommend them. This variety is Indigo Pear Drops. So that's a yellow pear-shaped cherry with that purple on that all the Indigo range has. Then I've got a beefsteak tomato, but these ones are not only a black tomato, which I love black tomatoes. Also, I mean, this is from the grower Brad Gates, who is famous for his tomatoes. He's bred all kinds of varieties. It's a variety from Pennard Plants, which is another great seed company. Brad's Black Heart. And with a name like Brad's Black Heart, I mean, how can you say no to that? And then my last variety is one also from Pennard Plants called Fahrenheit Blues. So this is apparently a blue cherry tomato. Hopefully it will be nice, because the last blue tomato I had was last year called Blue Fire, which, yeah, I wasn't so excited about the taste of that one. Hopefully this one is better. So, really excited about all those varieties, so let's get to planting. Then last up we've got Fahrenheit Blues, so find the right pot. These are tiny, look at those. So if you are struggling to pick up really tiny seeds like that, I find an easy way to do it is to just take my finger and press it firmly on top of the seed, and then quite often it will just stick to your finger, and that's a lot easier way for me to be able to try and, you know, to pick those up, rather than trying to mess around with like tweezers or your fingers or something. So just throw that one out, and that is our seeds planted. So all that's left to do is to top up the water. I'm going to be bottom watering these, which basically means I'm going to pour it into the bottom tray, and then that's going to soak up into the soil. It's going to avoid displacing any of the seeds that we've only just planted, and hopefully we are going to have some beautiful tomato seedlings very soon. Yay! Right, so not really sure what happened with the video, but it decided not to record most of me planting my tomatoes, so here they are now, all done. Got my Kumato here, got my, which one's this? Fahrenheit Blues, got my Indigo Drops here, and my Brad's Black Heart here. And then obviously in the bathroom where we are going right now, we have got my overwintered Brad's Gates one. What's it called? I know this. Atomic Grape, which will be a large grape-sized tomato with, it looks all multicoloured in the pictures. So fingers crossed we get some fruit off of that one this year. Come on. Now here's one I made earlier. Always wanted to say that. So this is the kind of size that you will be wanting to get to before you plant your seedlings out, ideally. So you'd be wanting to get to maybe about that kind of height there, just where that little teeny branch is. Just to make sure really that it's well developed enough to be able to obtain the resources it's going to need to live outside. So once you have grown your tomato plants to the appropriate size, you need to get them hardened off. You do that over a process of maybe a week or so, basically taking them outside when it's not too hot out, not too cold, and just leaving them to get used to the outside temperature. You do that for like maybe an hour on the first day, 2 hours on the second day, 3 hours on the third day, and so on. Eventually leaving them overnight, and then after a week has passed and they've been, you know, getting used to temperatures, then you can start leaving them out for the whole day, and they should be, you know, adapted enough that leaving them outside all day isn't going to shock them too badly. So once your plants are fully hardened off, they've had like a week or so to get accustomed to conditions, then it's unlikely that temperature fluctuations from there on will kill them. It might make them throw a little tantrum and get a bit wilty looking for a few days, but on the whole, you know, they should be okay. You would then plant them, of course. And so I plant mine in container boxes like this. Now these are quite deep, they do hold a good few bags of compost, but if you don't have these, that's fine. You can always plant them in something a bit smaller. I'll give you an example. My first ever indeterminate tomato was grown in one of these buckets. As you can see, that is not very big at all. And you can do that. You can pick up something of this size in any hardware store, somewhere like B&Q or Wickes in the UK. In the US, obviously, you've got places like Home Depot. What I would advise though, if you are growing in a bucket like this, is that you use proper support, because what happened to my first tomato, it got a few branches that were laden down with the most beautiful tomatoes. And then we had a few days of pretty windy weather, and because there was nothing really supporting the branches, they blew about in the wind and they broke off, and I was gutted because that none of the tomatoes were ripe, so I basically lost all those tomatoes. It broke my heart. But yeah, that's why I now use the trellis planters. Obviously you can see I've got lots of different tying points where any branches that are heavily laden down with fruit, I can make sure that they are tied up to that and that they are supported. So these boxes are basically made, my father-in-law, bless him, he built these for me. He used to be a joiner before he retired. He built them out of decking wood. Then he's got like these thick posts attached to the back, which are supporting the trellising. So these are bolted onto the box at the back, and then he's got screws. I don't think you can see. Oh yeah, you've got screws all along the length of the trellis, either side, to hold that trellis to the supports on either side. These particular trellises, for a pack of 3, these are about 2 meters, was just over £100, I think, from B&Q, so not too bad. Of course, there are commercially made trellises which, if you're not good at DIY, or if you don't have a father-in-law who is, then of course you can just buy them. It does work out kind of expensive doing that. But even if you just wanted to buy the trellising and just attach it to a wall of some sort, then you could do that, and then just have your receptacle that will hold all the soil and just underneath it, and then just grow like that. If you are creative, then there is a way that you can grow tall tomatoes and have them properly supported. I've even known people to make little teepees from bamboo canes and to use that to support their tomato plants when they're growing in buckets. So, I mean, it's not going to give you as much and as sturdy a support as something like this will. But if it makes it possible, and that's the only way you can do it, then by all means go ahead and do that. Because it's a lot better to do something you are able to do where you are at than it is to just think, oh well, I can't do it the ideal way, so I just won't do it. If there's a way, no matter how crazy you think it is, go do that. So, had I actually got some tomato seedlings other than the Brad's Atomic Grape, which I've already showed you, then I would be planting those out. I'm in the north of England, so my last frost day is, I think, it's either the very last or the week before the very last this month. You can go on the internet and just do a search, last frost date for, and then whatever your closest major town is. So mine, I think the closest major town I found was Leeds. And so that was what I typed in. In the US, they have some pretty good websites like the Farmer's Almanac. You can find out stuff like that there. Just be aware when you're using last frost dates. It's a guide to planting, but obviously it's not a guarantee that it's not going to suddenly mysteriously snow after that. But it's a reasonably good guide. So if your forecast is saying that you're going to have a few freezing nights after your first frost date, I would listen to the forecast and just leave it a few days before planting them out. So obviously I'm not going to plant this today because it would just die. Tomatoes are very frost tender. But when you do plant, what you want to do is bury it as deeply as possible and get as much of this stem in there, in the soil, as possible. Because all along this stem are little hairs that will turn into roots once they get in the soil. To give you a little close-up, you can see all along this little nodules where this plant is wanting to grow roots. Bury these things as deeply as you can in the soil. And what will happen then is you will develop a lovely big root system capable of getting hold of all the nutrients in that soil, and it'll grow all a nice leafy top and hopefully grow up to give you tons and tons of beautiful tomatoes. So plant it deep and you will end up with a very healthy plant with a lot of leafy growth, a lot of beautiful tomatoes, and a lot of really good root development. Wait till your soil is like a little warmer and you are past your last frost date, because these things, they don't like the cold. A bit like me, really. I hope you have found this video in some way useful, even though it is snowing, or has been. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.